time for the Carnival games review for the Wii. Oh boy, I remember renting this game back in 2009 and soon regretting it. Actually, it was one of the first Wii titles to ever grace my system. Now that it's been 15 years since I played it, at the time of this video, is it as bad as I remember, or am I the one who deserves a pie in the face? Let's find out. As soon as you begin the game, it lets you choose to play single or multiplayer. The latter lets you and up to 3 other friends play along in almost every game available, which is a little over 20. Seeing how this is a party game by nature, you'd think that multiplayer would be the only mode you'd want to play, but single-player mode is where you actually earn tickets and unlockable prizes and bonus games. Instead of going through all the games, I'll just talk about my favorites and least favorites. Know that each one is an actual Carnival game, and not something the programmers pulled out of thin air to beef up the quantity. Balloon darts was my favorite, as I was able to win the largest prize most consistently. Speaking of which, every time you finish a game, you'll win a small, medium, or large prize depending on how well you did. The controls for balloon darts worked about 80% of the time. The main problem is that you can't lock onto a target, and instead have to position the cursor very carefully over the balloon you want to hit, then jolt the Wiimote forward like a dart. Since you can't lock onto a balloon, the cursor would occasionally change at the last second, and your throw would be nowhere near where you tried to throw it. Day at the Races was another favorite, as the controls were usually accurate enough, and again with Alley Ball and a few others. The games that controlled the worst were tossing games, such as Lucky Cups, Collection Plate, and Ring Toss. It was nearly impossible to gauge the strength of your throw. Being able to lock onto where you wanted to throw was helpful, but figuring out how fast to swing or flick the Wiimote was too inconsistent. Basketball was probably the least fun, as it was quite difficult to swish a shot. The controls in general needed polishing. Even with the more fun games, it always felt like I was battling the controls to an extent. Hole-in-One isn't difficult per se, but figuring out how hard to swing the Wiimote was surprisingly challenging. All they needed to do was copy Wii Sports and put a swing gauge on the screen. It felt so good to accomplish the simple task of the actual games when the controls would cooperate. As I said before, you'll win various prizes based on how well you do. The cool thing though is that you can trade up smaller prizes for larger ones, so even if you're not able to do well on one game, you can keep collecting smaller prizes and trading them in for large ones, and therefore no one has to miss out if they can't quite win a larger prize the first time. On the other hand, the prizes seem to only be there as collectibles. I guess this is fine, but I wish you could have traded in the prizes for tickets. Tickets are also won every time you complete a game, and these are used to redeem cosmetic prizes for your characters, like headgear, props, and no, new faces aren't available. There's quite a handful of them to unlock, with some of them costing a whopping 500 tickets. You can also play specific games that require tickets, such as a real-life prize redemption accurate claw machine, or like this coin pusher. These types of games can win you tickets, prizes, or both. I thought a cool mechanic was some of the games have special scenarios, and if you're able to figure out and complete the scenario, bonus games can be unlocked as well as cosmetic prizes. The graphics are aesthetically correct for the type of game this is, but the character models are just ugly, I'm sorry to say. Some of the textures are quite bland, and I know this launched within the first year of the release of the Wii, but overall the graphics aren't exactly pleasing. One thing that didn't sound right was there weren't enough sound effects throughout. Like when you lose a game, your character shows off their frustration, but the animation is all you get. There should be some kind of wah 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 or something. So, is this game just as bad and boring as I remember 15 years ago? Well, honestly, no. I can't say that it's a bad game. It has charm and has potential to be an okay party game. The main problem is the inconsistency with the controls. Some games can be quite fun, others can be borderline impossible to win, and some are just not that fun in general. For what the game is trying to be, it's pretty much spot on. I can't take away points for being a collection of minigames, because that's exactly what this type of game is supposed to be. The thing is though, this type of game is meant for a younger demographic, and with the way the controls are, I find it difficult to believe most kids would 1. Find it fun to begin with, and 2. Have enough patience and attention span to figure out the controls to be able to have a good time with it. Had the developers took a bit more time to iron out the controls, and perhaps improve the general quality of the graphics, it might have become an instant classic party game within the Wii's library. Sadly though, it doesn't reach that mark. Controls aside, it doesn't have much lasting appeal. Again, it's not a bad game, and no, it's not the worst game on the Wii, something that I may or may not have implied to in the past, although it certainly isn't better than Donkey Kong Barrel Blast, thank you very much Gamepro, and overall, I don't see myself ever coming back to it. This game gets a 2.25 out of 5 with the title of poor.